This is the Klein Tools CL810, and it's the last meter you'll ever need. Now, stay tuned to the end because I'm going to go over its key features, a couple of use examples, and then all the specs you'll ever need to know and then some. Decide if this is the ultimate meter for you and if it truly is the last meter you'll ever need to buy. First, here's what you can expect to get with your Klein Tool CL810. Of course, you're going to get the meter itself, but also you get this nice soft case. It is padded. It has your red and black meter leads. It also has your temperature probe. Instruction manual. Now, this manual is not going to go over all of its features. Real quick, I'm going to go over all the features on the dial, what the buttons do, and a few of the features on the meter itself. The CL810 does come with a transflective reverse contrast display, and what that means is it is a reverse backlit display with the dark color background and the lit up numbers. Now, a lot of people like this over the non-reverse display. It lets them read the numbers a little bit better in the dark. Now, speaking of readability, the dial itself on the CL810 is an upgraded backlit dial, which I'm going to throw the lights off real quick. And as you can see, it's lit up really nice. Not just the dial, but the functions on the dial themselves are lit up. This meter is truly useful in pitch black lighting. You can see how nice that display is. This itself is a reason a lot of people upgrade from the CL800 up to the 810 because it is so useful in limited lighting situations. Now, another upgrade, as you'll see, I plugged in my red and my black meter leads. On the older Klein Tools clamp meters, the leads plugged into the bottom, which a lot of people felt that it was a little bit more clunky and added length to the meter itself, where they've now stuck the meter leads on the top, which many people are preferring. Now, I am in the volts AC setting. I'm going to go through just a few of the quick examples on why this thing really is truly the last meter you'll ever need to buy because it just does everything. Now, we're in AC, so it doesn't really matter which side I plug into the outlet, but I like to keep my red on the hot and black on the neutral side. And as you can see right there on the meter, we are getting about 121 volts, which is right about where we want it with no load on this outlet. Okay, and to switch over to DC, this orange button is going to be a multifunction button, but when you're on your dial, you are going to be able to use it for DC voltage. Now we're in DC. It says DC right there on the display. No mistaking it. So we'll go ahead and throw our leads onto our 9-volt battery. And you can see I've got about 9.07. This battery is a little bit drawn down, but still has over 9 volts. Next up on the dial is our amperage with the big A there for amps. It will measure AC and DC just the same. I'm going to show you the AC amperage selection here. We'll go ahead and pop out our red and blacks. And I've got my special extension cord here. I have separated the two hot and neutral. That way I can accurately read my AC amperage. I'll just place the clamp around one of the two leads. And I've got my toaster plugged in. Turn on the toaster. And I'm getting about 6.5 amps AC with the toaster on. And I've opened up the electrician tutor website here. It has 6 professional calculators built in on top of the study guides and tests that it has. But I'm going to go ahead and quickly calculate how much power my toaster was actually using. So I'll hit the, let's see, circuit calculations. And I know my voltage was 120, actually 0.4. And then my amperage, which we just measured with the clamp on, was 6.5 amps. And that's all I need, 2 of the calculations to get the other 2. And it looks like I had a resistance of about 18.5 ohms, and my toaster was using 782 watts. Wow, that's a lot higher than I thought for power, but that's pretty cool. I can quickly calculate using the clamp on from the Klein Tools CL810 and the electrician tutor app. I was able to figure out exactly how much power my toaster is using, and that's a lot more than I thought. And we'll move on and click up into the resistance and capacitor and diode setting. Now this one has 3 right there on the dial, all packed in one spot. So again, we're gonna have to use our multifunction orange select button to cycle through the different features. For this check, we'll of course need our red and black leads plugged in. So we'll plug those in. Okay, we'll go ahead and start in the resistor function because that's where it defaults to on the meter. I've got a little resistor here. We'll just hook up each lead to one end of the resistor. Looks like we're about 980 ohms or 0.986 kilo ohms. So this is a 986 ohm resistor. So that's how you can easily check resistance on really anything that's disconnected from a circuit. And next up is our diode. Now I've grabbed an light emitting diode, but this will also measure plenty of other kinds of diodes as well. This is probably the most common that you're going to have around your house if you're working on any electronic circuits. Now, if you didn't know, the longer leg on these LEDs is your positive, so we'll want to hook our red lead to that, our black lead to the smaller lead. Now, I've already placed my meter into the diode setting, and we'll come across the LED, and you can see we have 1.773 in one direction. Now, if you were to flip this over and reverse polarity on your reading, you should get an OL. That's because diodes only allow the current to flow in one direction, and there you have it. We flip it back over and we're good. Now we'll click her into the capacitance mode, and I've got a typical air conditioning run start capacitor here. This one's made by Titan Pro. If you need one of these, I'll throw it in the description below. Now to measure the capacitor, first off, you're going to want to make sure you have properly discharged your capacitor, which I just pulled this off my shelf so I know it's discharged. If not, you're going to need to lay something metal without touching the metal across your terminals just to make sure it is discharged. Or you can buy one of these fancy capacitor discharge tools where you just put your leads across the terminals and it will discharge and show you on these LEDs. I'll throw this in the description as well. To measure your capacitor, you're going to want to stick one lead on each terminal right there. On a 3-terminal like this, we're looking at the C and the Herm terminals for your air conditioner, but I am reading 79.4, and that is good because this is an 80 microfarad plus or minus 5%, which we're definitely within that. I was able to accurately measure my own AC run start capacitor. You can save yourself a lot of money where the air conditioning tech might have charged you $100 just to do that check. With your Klein tool CL810, it has paid for itself because now you can check your own capacitors and not get that charge from the AC tech. Okay, you might have noticed there's a 4th symbol there on that spot, and that is the audible continuity. So when you're in resistance, and we'll just use anything metal, but if you're checking a wire or anything else for continuity, you will hear that audible tone. We're done with that spot. We'll click it up into the frequency and duty cycle setting. Now I'm going to show you the frequency, and you can check the frequency of any AC circuit with this setting, which is really handy. Now, if you were to stick your probes back into power strip here, as you can see, we're getting 60 hertz, and that is what we want here in the US. Now, if you're in Europe or European countries, you're likely going to see a 50 hertz, and that's completely fine. Your country may slightly vary from the US, but here in the US, we're right about 60 hertz. That's what we want to see. So that is good. It's a really quick way to check frequency on your electronics. Now, the other spot there, you would use your select button to put it into the duty cycle, and that's real handy. I don't have a quick motor we can check, but if you're checking the duty cycle of a motor, that can give you the duty cycle that the motor is producing. Okay, one more click up on the dial, and now we're into the microamps DC. So if you're wanting to check really small amperage of a DC component, you can check it that way. One more click up on the dial, and now we have reached our temperature setting, which this is really handy if you need to check the temperature of an electronic component or your work area itself. So to use that, we'll pop out the red and black leads, and we'll push in our yellow temperature probe. Now, all this does, and I've got it wrapped up still, but you can pull this out and extend it if you need to. It's going to show you on the display the temperature in the room. Woo, it's pretty hot in here. We're looking at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. If you need Celsius, just hit that select button, and it's 30 Celsius for all you Canucks. All right, now the last feature on the dial is our low Z or our low impedance, and we can use that in DC or AC, as you can see with the orange solid or white wavy line there. Select between the two with your select key, of course. Now, if you don't know what the low Z is, this is a pretty handy feature if you're looking for ghost voltage, or some people call it stray voltage. It's an induction voltage that can sometimes give you false readings when you're taking measurements with your meter. And what that does is that rules out that ghost voltage and only gives you the true voltage of the circuit, which is really, really handy for checking voltages when you're doing some really deep dive troubleshooting. Okay, now that we've made it through all the dial features, we'll flip that back to voltage there. Now I'll quickly go over the rest of the features on the meter and then some few key stats. The orange button is your select, and it's also your NCV. Now what is NCV, you might ask? Well, that's non-contact voltage, which the Klein CL810 has built into the meter. What we'll do is plug that in just for a lead. And to use the non-contact voltage feature, we're just going to hold down that orange button, and we're right next to the lead here sticking out of the power strip, so it should immediately start beeping and flashing. So we'll see what happens. Oh, and there you go. So right there it is flashing. You can hear it beep. Pulled it away from the voltage. Now it's back. So this thing works really good. It's got the visual and auditory alarm. So yet another handy feature built into the CL810. By the way, I'm going to throw a link to this meter down in the description, so check that out for yourself. Now, underneath the orange button, we do have the 0 button there. So if we hold that down, it is going to 0 it out. It's also the button for the backlighting if you want to turn that off. And then also it is a relative button, so you can turn that on. Now next to that is your range button. So as you can see, we're just moving decimal points. If you need a little bit higher of a range with 3 digits past the decimal point, you can do that. Now it is an auto range meter as well, so you can just have it in auto if you want. That's easy peasy. Now one of the awesome features that they have added to the Klein Tools 810 is the inrush current feature. Now if you're in the current and you've hit that button, now we're looking for inrush, as it says right there. Now what this is really handy for is if you're checking the inrush current. Now all inrush means it's the big load of the inrush of current when you fire up one of your appliances. Now a lot of people use this feature to check their air conditioner, because if when your compressor outside unit fires up and is sounding a little weird, or it's not coming on, or it just needs checked, you can clip this around one of your wires to your compressor and then have this in the inrush setting, and it will tell you, and it will hold it on there, your highest inrush current. So if your AC compressor is pulling around 50 amps on the normal, and then it says 150 on the inrush, you may have an issue. I'm not an AC technician, so those numbers may be a little off, but that is a very handy feature that they have added into the Klein Tools CL810, which makes it worth upgrading in itself. Okay, on the side, we have our hold button. So if you have a reading you want to hold, you can hit that. It will hold your reading on the display for you to look at once you pull it away from the circuit. Also, if you hold this button down, you're going to get a flashlight right there. You hold it down again, turns off the flashlight. It does have a lead holder right there. So if you're taking readings with one hand, you pop in your lead like that and it will hold it, which is really nice. The clamp is really, really easy to use, even though it feels very solid. You can't bend those, but they've made it so you can really operate it with one finger like that. Now, the only thing that I wish Klein Tools had added, and maybe they will in a future model, is one of your magnetic straps where you can hang this while you're working with your leads. You could just hang your meter from any kind of metal surface. Now, the unit does run on your regular household batteries, so very easy to swap out there. But the battery life is tremendous. You'll probably only change those out every so many years if you use it a lot. This Klein Tools CL810 really is, I feel, the last meter you'll ever need, just because of all the features and everything that it can do with all the multimeter stuff, and then also the AC/DC clamp. It really is an all-in-one meter. You will never have to buy another meter if you don't want to, especially if you're a do-it-yourselfer or just checking things around your house. This is truly all you need. Now, as promised, I'll go over a few of the key specs. So this is a true RMS, which does provide accurate and reliable measurements for both AC and DC. It does include temperature, inrush, all your regular multimeter functions. It does have the NCV like I showed you. It does have that transreflective reverse contrast display, which a lot of people like. It does have the illuminated dial, which is a cool upgrade. The work light. Now onto the durability and design. It does have a drop protection, which withstands drops from about 6.5 feet, which is pretty cool. You can drop this thing on the job, and as long as you don't throw it off of the top of a building, I think you'll be okay. It does have the IP40 rating, which protects it against solid but not liquid. So you don't want to go dropping this into the swimming pool. That would not be a good thing, but it can withstand a little bit of light rain, that type of thing, and you'll be just fine. And it is a Cat 4 600 volt, Cat 3 1000 volt, and the clamp ammeter portion will handle up to 600 amps. So I truly believe that this Klein CL810 is really probably the last meter you really ever need to buy, because it covers all your basic functions of a multimeter and clamp meter all in one. And unless you're doing some really intricate advanced electrical engineering stuff, I really think that this is an all-around great meter for not only on the job, but if you just need a meter for around your house, you'll probably only need this meter and no other meter ever again. Share your thoughts on that. Throw it down in the comments. Let me know if you've got one of these, if you're thinking about it, or if you've had any troubles with it or any great experiences. Also, again, I'll throw this down in the comments. You can check it out and pick one up for yourself. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Hopefully by now you've determined that this is the last meter you'll probably ever need to buy. And if you love this video, watch this one right here. I know that you're gonna love it. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel right there. It does something to the algorithm. I don't know what, but it helps out the channel so much, and I truly appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one.